Hello and welcome to the Monday, August 22nd, 2022 Hillsborough Township Board of Education meeting. In accordance with the state Sunshine Law of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the Hillsborough Township Board of Education was provided on August 18th, 2022 to the Hillsborough Beacon and the Courier News. Mr. Eckert, if we could take roll.
Mr. Gillette?
Here.
Ms. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Kidd?
Here.
Ms. Lanning-Beater?
Here.
Ms. Nurse?
Here.
Mr. Oliver? Mr. Rue?
Here.
Mr. Trujillo?
Here.
And Mr. Marini.
Here, we have a quorum. I'm going to have a motion to move into executive session. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 of the laws of 1975 provide that a public body may exclude the public from that portion of a meeting of which the public body discusses certain matters for which confidentiality is required as permitted in Section 7B of the Act, resolved by the Board of Education of the Township of Hillsborough, the County of Somerset, and the State of New Jersey as follows. The matters to be discussed are an update on the superintendent search, a personal matter, a student matter, and a legal matter. The matters discussed in executive session shall be disclosed to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Can I get a motion in a second?
So moved. Oh, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll be back. Hello and welcome back to the Monday, August 22nd, 2022 Hillsborough Township Board of Education meeting. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, no, sorry, we'll take roll.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Mr. Gillette?
Here.
Ms. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Kidd?
Here.
Ms. Lanning-Beater?
Here.
Ms. Nurse?
Here.
Mr. Oliver? Mr. Rue?
Here.
Mr. Trujillo?
Here.
And Mr. Marini.
Here, we now have a quorum and can have a meeting. All right, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to acknowledge, I don't think we have any correspondence listed.
Yeah, there was correspondence.
Okay. Okay. Yes, I'd like to acknowledge the correspondence is listed. I was looking at the simple agenda, not the details. All right. And then we'll move on to committee reports. We'll start with Mr. Gillette.
Thank you, Paul. The Operations Finance Committee met on August 10th. These are the topics that we discussed at the meeting. We discussed the Hurricane Ida insurance claim, which we have good news when it's all paid out, and it will be paid out. It will be, we're receiving $1.1 million for our Hurricane Ida repairs, which is good news. As far as transportation goes, we've had some interim employees in transportation. They're working diligently on getting out bids. Some of our bus contractors did not take the contractual increase, which is very small this year still. It'll be bigger, maybe in a following year if inflation continues like this, but this year would have been very small, so they had a desire to go out. They wanted to rebid, so they're working on that, and those, as of August 10th, those should go out soon. And they're already out, Jerry, right?
They're on tonight's agenda to be approved.
They're right, they're on intention, right, okay, so that's our part of it. We talked about in previous meetings about an Eagle Scout project at Sunnymead. That project's been discontinued. The young scout has chosen a different project, which he's going to complete. We had an update on the December 2019 referendum. Is that the right year? Yeah, 2019. And our update was as follows. The vestibules are nearly complete at all the schools. HVAC is being worked on, making progress. The biggest snag right now was some electrical capacity issues at Woodfern and Woods Road, which are being probably already taken care of by now. No, not quite. All right, trying to be optimistic on that one, but they need a new electrical panels or what have you for the increased load that some of our new units will be we'll need to do at those schools. As far as our lead testing, which results, our regularly scheduled lead testing, results of that are on the website. Outlets that did not pass have the hand wash only signs up at where they need to be. We had discussion about the legal avenues that we're continuing to pursue regarding the ESIP project from several years ago now. Our special counsel is still looking into that. As you know, there was a few bumps in the road with the ESIP project, and we're looking to get that wrapped up in the near future. Also, and finally, there's some larger housing developments in the planning stages in Hillsborough right now, including the M&M at Hillsborough West Tract development, which is a big one. We reviewed a report from the developer about that. Mr. Eckert had some comments on that, and he's going to follow up with, I think, the planning board, is that true? Or township committee?
I actually met with Mr. Ferrari last week.
Okay, township administrator.
and Meeting with the planning, the town's representative for the planning board, as well as business advocate tomorrow.
Right, because we had some comments and maybe some corrections on some of the assumptions made by the developer for that development. And that was the operations committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gillette. We'll move on to education. Mr. Kidd?
Thank you. The Education Committee met on August 10th. Our discussion issues, the first one was frontline professional learning mental health solutions. I might ask the superintendent, I believe that it was in regard to the record-keeping system and linking everything up between all the separate schools. The issue we had was everything was kept in a digital form of paper. Now every individual school will have access to a student's full history without having to go in for info in roundabout ways. That'll make mental health services more efficient throughout the entire district. And then our next discussion item was 2022-2023 professional development plan and statement of assurance. And our third discussion item was a 2022-2023 district mentoring plan and statement of assurance. Our last, those were our discussion items. Our only action item on the agenda was to review both revised and new curriculum. The only changes we ended up making was we changed the way resources were formatted in the way the resources were organized in the health and PE section of the curriculum. And we added a disclaimer in terms of the way the resources were being used to make sure that there wasn't any confusion regarding that. The health and PE curriculum is being taught the same in the classroom as it has been since 2020, since the state standards changed. We've merely organized and formatted the documentation according to the district's 5-year plan to do as such. And the superintendent will be doing a presentation on the curriculum in September.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kidd. For the HR committee report, Mr. Oliver's not here, so I will do my best to cover that since I was in that meeting. We did discuss unaffiliated staff and administrator salaries. We had that discussion. We did not finalize the discussion. We're waiting for some additional information, and hopefully by the next session, we'll be able to complete that action item. We also had a couple of informational items that we discussed, update on vacancies and anticipated vacancies for the upcoming school year, discussed on methods and standards for accolades for staff achievements, and then we reviewed exit survey data as well. Go back to my information here. For the governance, we did have a very quick governance meeting. We covered 3 items. Obviously, I'll mention this in my president's report, but we have our board retreat, which is coming up this week. We discussed that at a very high level. The current status of the superintendent search, which I'll also mention in my president's report. And then we also had an ongoing discussion about legal representation for the board, which was deferred to a future meeting. And that's it for the governance report. All right, now we'll move on to the board president's report. All right, so welcome everybody and thank you for joining. I want to give a big thank you to Dr. Feltry. It is her last board meeting. I'm sure she's going to thank me more than I'm thanking her, but as the acting superintendent, yes. It's her final meeting as the acting superintendent. So thank you very much. Yeah, it has not been the easiest, but you've stuck through and learned a lot. Yes, absolutely. With that, we're happy to be introducing Dr. Fishbein today, who will, assuming we get the votes, which I think we will be the interim superintendent. So just for those that aren't aware of the differences, acting fills a role when it needs to be filled, but there's not a vacancy. And then once the vacancy was made available, we allowed Dr. Feltry to finish the school year and then search for an interim that will take us until we have a full-time superintendent again. So welcome, and we'll welcome you again once we finish the action item later. All right. There have been some questions about the ongoing investigation with the district. I just want to give just the very simplest of updates. The Somerset County Prosecutor's Office is still ongoing in their investigation. I know some people have been emailing the board asking for updates. I'll provide that same response here, but until they're done with their investigation, we will not be providing any more additional details to the public until we're basically allowed to. So that being said, with the search that's ongoing, we've had a very, very fruitful search. So I'm happy to say that all those things aside, we have a very large number of diverse candidates that have applied. The number is somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 qualified applicants, which is a very large number. We'll be whittling those down and be doing some interviews in the next coming months. And hopefully, as soon as we come to an agreement with the board, we will be introducing a new superintendent, hopefully close to the end of the year. So we're very excited that it's moving forward and that it's working as well as it has. Oh yes, and last but not least, we do have our board retreat. This is not a spa day. For those who are not aware, this is a day where we meet off-site and we go through and set board goals, do some board training, and that'll be this Wednesday from 6 to 9 at the Montgomery Municipal Building. So, and that concludes my president's report. All right. Next, we'll move on to the acting superintendent report.
Thank you, Mr. Marini. So we have some honored guests at our meeting tonight with some exciting news to share with the district. Senator Andrew Zwicker, Assemblyman Roy Fryman, and Assemblywoman Sadaf Jaffer from our 16th Legislative District lobbied with the state for additional funding for Hillsborough Township Public Schools. That was quite the welcome. So, as you are aware, we took a significant hit with the S2 funding formula. Senator Zwicker, Assemblyman Fryman, and Assemblywoman Jaffer were able to secure an additional $1 million earmarked specifically for our schools for infrastructure spending. We are so grateful for their assistance in supporting our students. It is an honor to introduce Senator Andrew Zwicker, Assemblyman Roy Fryman, and Assemblywoman Sadaf Jaffer from our 16th Legislative District.
So we clearly, to our acting superintendent, Dr. Feltry, arranged for the thunderclap. That was clear. And also because it was this is your last board meeting, we also decided we would go out with a bang, obviously. I just want to say, and I'll turn the microphone over to my colleagues here, but just to put onto the record that it was Dr. Feltry, Board President Marini, and the head of the Hillsborough Education Association, Henry Goodhue, who came together on behalf of the students of this district to make sure that we all know that families move to Hillsborough for the quality of the education here, families stay in Hillsborough for the quality of education here, and for the teachers, support personnel, and administration, and most of all, of course, for the students. We have somewhere here a presentation, but before we get to that, I want to turn it over to Assemblyman Fryman and Assemblyman Jaffer. But I want to say thank you to the board and to everybody here. This is truly a team effort.
I just want to thank you. Just want to echo what Senator Zwicker said, that we know that this is every day you're fighting along with all those that are working in the school system for the children. And so it's very easy for us to advocate with that wind behind our back, that this is for and trying to protect the children, trying to give them the highest level of education. Very proud to be a resident right here, very proud to have my children come through Hillsborough School District. And so we're very happy to be able to offer this additional support.
I think mostly everything's been said, but whenever I come to these meetings, I'm always so inspired and overwhelmed with the service of the board members, the administrators, the community members who show up at these meetings. So thank you all for being here this evening, and I'm glad we can have a little bit of good news for you.
So, yeah, if we could ask Mr. President and our acting superintendent to come on up, and we'll present you with a very large, both figurative and literal check.
This is fit Jerry's trunk. This is in your trunk, Jerry. It's folded down. I'm sure Alicia gets a picture. Alicia, get in there. Balance it. There we go.
Now, the second item in my acting superintendent's report is not nearly as exciting, but it's necessary, so I apologize. In accordance with new HIB legislation, on June 13th, 2022, revisions to policy 5512, harassment, intimidation, and bullying were approved by the Board of Education. There has been some significant changes to the new HIB law, and Ms. Smedley has been working with David Nash, Esquire, Director of Legal Education and National Outreach for the Foundation of Educational Administration, to update our process and our forms. The October 10th Board of Education meeting will start at 10:30 p.m. for a board training on the updated law and policy. And that concludes my acting superintendent's report.
I'm not coming at 10:30. I'm too old.
Thank you, Dr. Felcher. All right.
I'm just saying it up front now.
All right, we have 2 minutes to approve. 9.1, motion to approve executive session minutes, July 18th, 2022. 9.2, motion to approve public meeting minutes, July 18th, 2022. Can I get a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? He doesn't like it.
No.
Seeing that, we'll take roll. We just do all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
All right, so we'll move on to the first public comment session.
I'm sorry, I abstained for that. I wasn't
You
there.
abstain?
For the minutes, yes.
Okay. Public input on the action agenda. We very much welcome input from the public. During board meetings, there'll be 2 30-minute periods of time that the meeting will be open for public comment, where members of the public are invited to comment, which they may do if they're attending in person. During the first public comment period, members of the public may comment about items that are listed on tonight's agenda before the board votes. During the second public comment period, members of the public may comment on any school or school district issue that a member of the public feels may be of concern to the residents of the school district as per bylaw 0167. Before you state your comment, you'll be asked to provide your name and address. There's a 3-minute limit on public comment. Please understand that our public forums are not structured as question and answer sessions, but rather are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. In instances where the board believes there's a misunderstanding or inaccuracy, the board president or superintendent will address the comment. There may be times when a member of the public makes a comment or asks a question about personnel or hiring decisions. Kindly note that the Open Public Meetings Act and the privacy rights of public employees encompassed therein do not permit the board to discuss personnel issues in public session. If you have any public comment, please step up and address which action item you will be discussing.
Philip Gans, item number 11.6. Earlier this summer, I spoke before this board and asked how the comprehensive health and physical education standards were to be implemented into the Hillsborough curriculum. My immediate personal interest lies with the elementary level. At the time, this administration indicated this specific curriculum would be developed over the summer and would be available soon before the start of this new school year in order to allow parents to make an informed decision regarding their individual child. According to the April 14th memo from our acting commissioner at the New Jersey DOE, quote, the NJDOE does not approve or actively endorse instructional material such as lesson plans, textbooks, software, videos, or any content. Generally speaking, the state does not mandate curriculum. Material adoption is a local decision based on the local curriculum development and review process. All locally developed instructional materials should be aligned to the district curriculum and the New Jersey student learning standards and be current, medically accurate, developmentally and age appropriate, and selected through meaningful and ongoing consultation with the school community, including parents. To be clear, any report indicating that the NJDOE has approved a specific vendor or instructional material, example lesson plan, related to the implementation is not accurate, unquote. In that memo, she also addressed 3 standards in particular that have been identified as causing the bulk of controversy and confusion, the first 2 of which apply to grades K through 5. The first, core idea 1 expectations said that by the end of grade 2, discuss the range of ways people express their gender and how gender role stereotypes may limit behavior. Core idea 2 expectations by the end of grade 5 explain common human sexual development and the role of hormones. Example, romantic and sexual feelings, masturbation, mood swings, timing of pubertal onset. Core idea number 3, expectations by the end of grade 8. Define vaginal, oral, and anal sex. The acting commissioner's memo went on to state, and again I quote, it is important to note that the examples of the performance expectations are not required concepts that must be taught in classes. They are merely examples, and school curricula does not need to include those specific words or concepts to meet the core ideas or performance expectations of these standards, unquote. With the start of the new school year just a few weeks away, I read the Hillsborough Board of Education website curriculum map related to the comprehensive health and physical education standards. It appears that the topic standards are also included not only in health classes, but in several other Hillsborough class subjects. By my count going through that, English and language arts 12 times, social studies 13 times, I'm almost done. Science 5 times, math 4 times. Since some of these sensitive topics appear not to be limited to health class, specifically at the elementary level, if a parent chooses to have their child opt out of these topics, how will that be administered and where will those children go during those lessons? Secondly, if one of the stated goals of these standards.
Thank you.
10 seconds. If one of these stated goals of these standards is to help eliminate bullying, social isolation, and increased need for mental health supports, how will students who have opted out be protected from those same issues due to opting out? With interested parties listening tonight, I hope someone here is willing and able to address these questions before the board votes. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
My name is Janine Basin, I live on Valley Road. I emailed the Board of Ed about the same exact topic on July 12th. I got a quick response that the curriculum would be posted on the website. On August 11th, I followed up. The website still listed the 2020 curriculum for health. As an 8th grade parent, I am concerned that my 12 and 13-year-old son is going to be learning in school the correct way to perform oral sex, receive oral sex, and perform anal sex. And I emailed the board on August 11th. I have not heard back. I checked on the website just before when I was sitting in my seat, and the curriculum still lists the 2020 curriculum. And in fact, if it is going to be the new 2022, gentle pornographic curriculum, I would implore the board to let the parents know and to let the administrators and the teachers know, so that if any teachers are uncomfortable with teaching those topics, they should not be held in any bad sign for that. If a parent chooses to remove their child from the health class, just like the gentleman said, then we're removing them from the sexual aspect, but we're also removing them from the other aspects of health education that are very important, like mental health and hygiene. And so an opt-out program, an opt-out option does not really benefit the school community. And if I, as a parent, took this same material that you as the board approved to teach to our students, if I took this material and if I went to an 8th grade playground and showed these students the pictures and the descriptions that are in the curriculum, I would be considered a pedophile and I would be on a watch list. Yet you are requesting and requiring the teachers to teach this subject matter, whether or not it goes against their personal, religious, or moral beliefs. And as parents, if we opt our child out of it, we lose the benefits of the other aspects of health education, including mental health and all bullying, all of the other aspects. I don't even have words for the fact that the board approved this curriculum. I don't know if you approached any parents for their input or if you just made a decision on your own, but perhaps this is another one of the reasons why Hillsborough not only cannot retain teachers, but teachers are leaving by the droves because of the administration, the curriculum that's being approved, the lack of transparency, the corruption that continues year after year after year with no answers. There's no accountability.
Thank you for your comment. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the acting. Oh, sorry.
Good evening, Stefania Lockwood, Millstone River Road. So this is why I've been here since January, right? Is this meeting and this vote. And you guys all know that because I sent you
What action agenda item are you
the same
referring
one that
to?
they spoke to.
Okay.
Thank you. I sent you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You get the count of media sources, scientific sources that discuss exactly why the information that these folks are reacting to has been used as political fodder, why my existence has been turned into a political football. And you know that, every single one of you, unless you chose not to read my emails, in which case that's a different discussion. So I hope that when you vote tonight, you're voting on the reality of the science, the reality of the record, and not on political shenanigans, because that's what this has been since day one. It was that way since day one with Mr. Albanese and his little mask crusade, which everyone likes to get so upset at me about, and that's what it is now. And one of the very first articles that I sent you was explicitly outlining how this was a political strategy to move from one outrage to the next, to the next, to me. So, as far as the concerns that are being raised here, I'll let you know something that maybe I brought up before. I knew I was a girl at 6 years old. I tried to tell my dad that I was a girl, and he thought I was asking about how to pee. So when we're talking about the right way to teach things, maybe we should actually talk about the scientific terminology. And maybe we should understand that those links to the learning standards are actually just references to which standard they mean, not which class they're taught in. As a former educator, I understand that I have a little bit more insight into that than the general public might, but there's no teaching of pornographic materials in English class. Good grief. And let me tell you something else, as a former 7th and 8th grade middle school band director, these kids know plenty about oral sex and masturbation. Plenty. And it is for their benefit that we teach them how to do it safely, how to engage with each other without disease, etc. And you have the right to do that as a parent, but it is our responsibility to these children, just like it was our responsibility as a society to me, that our society failed. I spent 5 years in my grandma's basement after my grandma would go to bed with her stuffed bras. And I was told that I was a pervert, that I was a sinner. I'm a woman who happened to be born with a penis. And no one told me that until I figured it out for myself at 42 years old, except I knew it at 6. I didn't know anything about pornography. I didn't know anything about masturbation. You know what I cared about at 6 years old? My dad and I would play New Jersey Turnpike. I expect just as much extra time as Mr. Gans had, by the way. We would play New Jersey Turnpike, where I would set up blocks and we would line up my Matchbox cars. That's what I cared about at 6. And the fact that I was a girl and didn't know how to express it to anyone, because no one taught me, because I was raised Catholic. So my family wasn't going to teach me. And guess what? When I told my mom I was a woman at 42 years old, my mom fainted. She fainted because she was so confused, because she never learned it. 4 months later, my mom made me the first dress she made me. It's beautiful. It's a choral Renaissance dress. And that could have happened for me as a little girl instead of as an adult woman. That's what you're voting on today. Not pornography, not masturbation techniques. The chance for kids to be who they really are their whole lives and to avoid the mental health issues which I have been accused of having because I stand up for myself and for these children. Thank you.
And just a comment to the audience, when somebody's at the podium speaking, do not speak over them, please. You have your chat. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the acting superintendent's action. Oh, yes. No, we don't, I'll do that in a second. The action agenda.
Thank you. So the acting superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the education agenda as follows: 11.1 through 11.17. Motion to approve professional travel-related expenses. Motion to approve submission of the 2022-2023 Statement of Assurance for the District Professional Development Plan and Mentoring Plan. Motion to approve grant application to Special Olympics of New Jersey for Unified Soccer. Motion to approve submission of amendment for and accept transfer of funds within the ESSER 3 ARP grant. Motion to approve new curriculum, which is posted here on the agenda. Motion to approve revised curriculum, which is also posted here on the agenda. Agenda does not get posted on the website until after the board adopts it. 11.7, motion to approve affiliation agreement with Widener University. 11.8, motion to approve additional hours for summer school program. 11.9, motion to approve staff for summer school program. 11.10, motion to approve staff to attend UME and the PLC. 11.11, motion to approve staff to complete NJ PSA Legal 1 Anti-Bullying Specialist Certificate Training. 11.12, motion to approve media specialists to develop pacing and common assessments. 11.13, motion to approve staff for curriculum common assessment writing for professional development. Motion to approve curriculum writing. Motion to approve revised science curriculum and common assessment writing. Motion to approve staff member being paid by individuals with disabilities education, IDEA fiscal year 23 funds. And 11.17, motion to approve staff being paid by fiscal year 23 Elementary and Secondary Education Act ESEA Title I funds.
All right, can I get a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion by the board? Ms. Nurse?
I do have a question, I guess, from somebody on the education committee or Dr. Feltry. I knew that the health curriculum was a bit of a controversy, so I made sure that I reviewed everything. And I was going back and read some of the comments, because I don't remember reading anything about the correct way to have anal sex, oral sex, any of that. And I'm almost through it and I don't see it. So I'm not sure if this is something of loose interpretation that is confusing the public, or I'm missing something. But I just wanted to verify that I wasn't missing something within the curriculum.
I don't remember seeing that either, but I will be doing a presentation on the major changes happening in September. So I will be going back over it, but when I went through and, reviewed it and passed it on to the education committee, and in any of the conversations that we had, there was no direct teaching of those types of.
I mean, I
things
just
that were
saw about
expressed.
contracepting and being respectful in relationships. I didn't see anything that some of the public issues are.
And if I may, I'm not a proponent of a mandate like this, but we did have a lot of conversation. I did go through the maps. Sorry about that. And I raised questions. The K through 8 teachers answered quickly. They were very forthcoming. So my impression, my feedback is that if there's any question, I would definitely reach out to the teachers. I think they're more than happy to help clarify any questions, give you any feedback. And by all means, every parent and guardian has the right to opt out. And if you choose to opt out, you are so within your rights. And I think that's the best thing for you and your family. And I really wouldn't think too much about missing anything. But again, reach out to the teachers and talk to them. The other thing I would say is that I read through everything. And when you see the maps, I would go through the links that the students are exposed to. And the way it was explained was that the links are there, but not everything within the site is covered. So it's just a matter of, just as we monitor our children's TV and everything else, I would pay attention to homework assignments and the use of those links outside of school assignments and homework assignments.
No.
If you have a comment or question during the second open question period, you can raise the question there. Thank you.
But just to clarify, anybody who read the curriculum mapping and everything, there was nothing in there.
I don't.
Not that you recall, right?
I don't recall it, no.
Okay.
But again, I mean, the quick response from the K through 8 teachers, I thought was impressive. And again, I think they're probably very open to clarifying anything for you, even if it means you choose to opt out.
Hold on, you can't do questions now. All right, thank you.
I'll ask another question. Is this curriculum map posted on the website?
It will be once it's
On the
approved.
agenda.
Oh, that's right.
So it is on the website in the sense that it's on the agenda. It can't be on the website until you all approve it
I
tonight.
asked that question before at committee. I'm sorry. That's, so just for everybody.
Guys, we need to.
Sorry,
audience,
that's me.
please.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to have an open conversation.
And board,
I'm
just
clarifying
address
to
the board, please.
that no, the public did not get to see this.
Yes, this is public access.
Well, right now, but before that, it's not posted to the website because we
Correct.
can't until
Correct.
it's approved.
Correct.
But in everything that I've read and everything that Elaine says she's read, we haven't seen anything
But this
like
agenda
that
has
type.
been publicly posted since Friday.
Yes, so access to the agenda, but not through the website yet.
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we have not seen anything that has direct teaching of any type of sexual things.
No, and I think the bottom line is it's a mandate, and so there's only so much flexibility anyone has. So, but I think in reading it, I think it was sufficient.
And, just as my thoughts as a parent of a 13-year-old or going into 8th grade and a 15-year-old going into sophomore year, I was very comfortable with everything that I've seen.
Okay. Any other comments or questions by the board? All right, with that, we'll take roll.
Mr. Gillette,
No to 11.6, yes on everything else.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Kidd,
Yes.
Ms. Lanning Beater,
Yes.
Ms. Nurse,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo,
Yes.
and Mr. Marini.
Yes, motion passes.
The acting superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the Human Resources Agenda 12.1 through 12.20 as follows. Motion to approve interim superintendent of schools. Motion to approve resolutions. Motion to approve retirements and resignations. Motion to approve revised resignation. Motion to approve revised leaves of absence. Motion to approve revised leave replacement teacher. Motion to approve revised employment contract 2022-2023. Motion to rescind leave replacement contract. Motion to rescind student occupational therapist field placement. Motion to approve contract change. Motion to approve leaves of absence. Motion to approve Hillsborough High School Extended Media Center hours for 2022-2023. Motion to affirm appointments for 2022-2023. Motion to approve student teachers for 2022-2023. Motion to approve 6th and 7th period coverage for 2022-2023. Motion to approve extra coverage for 2021-2022. Motion to approve science lab coverage for 2022-2023. Motion to approve revised summer athletic camp coach stipends. Motion to approve ESY program and summer work for 2022. And motion to approve sidebar agreement with the Hillsborough Education Association.
Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion by the board?
Was the item on science coverage added after the fact? I don't see it on my agenda.
I believe it was added today.
Okay. What was that number? It was between,
That is 12.17.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Mr. Hill, you're good? Okay. We'll take roll.
Mr. Gillette,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Kidd,
Yes.
Ms. Lanning Beater,
Yes.
Ms. Nurse,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo,
Yes.
and Mr. Marini.
Yes, motion passes.
We would like to acknowledge.
Yes.
Dan.
Congratulations,
Oh,
Dr.
thanks.
Fishman.
Thank you. The acting superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the operations agenda 13.1 through 13.21 as follows. Motion to approve monthly bills. Motion to approve monthly financials. Motion to approve line item transfers. Motion to approve financial status. Motion to close health reimbursement fund and investment accounts. Motion to approve professional services contracts. Motion to approve frontline subscription proposals. Motion to approve SHI proposal. Motion to award contract for professional learning experiences. Motion to approve tuition contract with HCBT for the 2022-2023 school year. Motion to approve competitive contract process. Motion to award contract to Catholic Charities for before and after school childcare services. Motion to award transportation contracts for the 2022-2023 school year. Motion to approve change order with Top Line Construction. Motion to approve change order number 2 with Stylo Paving and Excavating. Motion to accept donations. Motion to approve disposal, sale of obsolete items. Settlement agreement. Motion to approve out-of-district placements for the 2022-2023 school year. Motion to approve bus rental agreement with Somerset County ESC. And motion to award transportation contract renewal.
Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion by the board? All right, seeing none, we'll move to roll.
Mr. Gillette,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Kidd,
Yes.
Ms. Lanning Beater,
Yes.
Ms. Nurse,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo,
Yes.
and Mr. Marini.
Yes, motion passes. All right, we'll move on to the second public comment period. We very much welcome input from the public. During the board meetings, there will be 2 30-minute periods of time that the meeting is open for public content, where members of the public are invited to comment, which they may do if they are attending in person. During this second public comment period, members of the public may comment on any school or school district issue that a member of the public feels may be of concern to the residents of the school district. That's per bylaw 0167. Before you state your comment, you'll be asked to provide your name and address. There's a 3-minute limit on public comment. Please understand that our public forums are not structured as question and answer sessions, but rather are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. In instances where the board believes there's a misunderstanding or inaccuracy, the board president or superintendent will address the comment. There may be times when a member of the public makes a comment or asks a question about personnel or hiring decisions. Kindly note that the Open Public Meetings Act and the privacy rights of public employees encompassed therein do not permit the board to discuss personnel issues in public session. Any public comments?
Hi, Heather Larico, 23 Bloomingdale Drive. As community members, parents, teachers, I think any time that parents take an active role in their child's education, that's something that we all embrace. As a parent and teacher myself, obviously I want parents to be actively involved and reflecting on what their children are learning in the classroom. However, when it comes from a disingenuous place and when deliberate misinformation and disinformation is used in an attempt to impact what students are learning, how students are accepted and respected in the classroom, then that becomes a problem. And in order to combat that misinformation and disinformation that I continue to see in the board meetings month after month, I would strongly recommend that parents, teachers, community members check out newsliteracy.org and checkology.org. It's an organization that is dedicated to helping community members, parents, teachers, students wade through the misinformation and disinformation that they are continually bombarded by and enhance their media and digital literacy. One of the main things that they promote is pause, reflect, be aware that certain things have been intended to create either a positive or negative emotion, and then respond. And it also shows community members, parents, teachers, and students how to identify reliable sources and how to vet them so that they can then make their own decisions. Just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Janine Basin, Valley Road again. First, I would like to thank the officer out there for his time. I would also like to thank the board member who put the asterisk for the reading of the Knife of Never Letting Go. I read that book myself, and I thank you for putting the warning on it. And thank you for the 2 board members who helped clarify, because as the previous person stated, there is a lot of disinformation out there. And when I went to the website and the 2020 curriculum was posted, and I emailed asking whether the 2022 curriculum would be implemented or not, I did not get a reply. So therefore, that's why I was here. And I would also just like to state that my opinion on the teaching of sex education is not political, as some people have insinuated, but instead it is my own religious, moral, and family beliefs. And I feel that I have the right to have my children grow up in those same beliefs. And I also find it appalling that old board members are still being brought up by name in a board meeting and nothing is done about it. This has continued on for months now by community members speaking out and naming particular board members by name. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, Amy Salinger, HEA treasurer and 6th grade teacher at Alton Road. As I was listening to the discussions tonight, I just went on the website myself because I was recalling, as a teacher at Alton Road, even though I don't teach health and phys ed, I know every year they do the puberty lesson in 5th grade. And I do know a letter goes home to parents prior to that lesson, and I just found it on our website. So it does go there. It actually talks about how they will approach the lesson during the classes. So there's a general letter, there's a letter about details for what the girls' puberty lesson will be, the boys' puberty lesson, and it gives parents suggestions of what they can say at home. It also and I just skimmed it, so don't quote me, but basically, like, if students ask, highly, not inappropriate, but detailed questions, their response is going to be, why don't you ask mom and dad about that at home? So I don't think big, detailed discussions are happening at the classroom. It's introductory. I'm sure it follows all the curriculums. And it does also offer parents, if you have any questions or concerns, to contact the school. And this is all done prior to the lesson being taught, which I think is good. And I know it goes home, I believe it goes home via instant messenger well in advance. And I do know in the past, some parents have opted their students out of that lesson. So some of the things that are being addressed as concerns are things that are already happening, and those types of concerns are already being addressed. And at least, I just did a quick search tonight, but at our school, I feel like they're already kind of ahead of the curve in that, as far as providing information up front, as much detail as they can, with options and suggestions for parents to do their part at home. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
My name is Tiffany Neal. I'm on Cedar Hill Terrace. I'm here tonight to advocate for healthy school hours for Hillsborough students starting in the fall of 2023. As I have described before, extensive research shows that starting both middle and high school at 8:30 a.m. or later improves mental health, physical health, and academic achievement among teenagers. Due to shifts in the biological clock during puberty, teens naturally fall asleep later and wake up later than both children and adults. This sleep schedule is incompatible with early school start times. By starting Hillsborough High School before 8:30, we are preventing our teens from getting the 8 to 10 hours of sleep they need to be healthy and successful. I would like to welcome Dr. Fishbein as interim superintendent. Your former district of Ridgewood is now actively discussing healthy school hours for their students. I look forward to hearing your ideas for implementation as our school board explores options. I was also glad to see Senators Wicker, Assemblyman Fryman, and Dr. Jaffer here. The best way to ensure healthy school hours for all students in New Jersey is through statewide legislation. 2 bills that are currently under discussion in the legislature would set a minimum high school start time of 8:30 a.m. This legislation would not only improve student health and academics across the state, but would also help schools make the change by doing it together. I trust that our local leaders will be supporting these bills. Finally, I think I've mentioned before that the New Jersey American Academy of Pediatrics has an active task force on adolescent sleep and school start times, chaired by our own district physician, Dr. Bert Mandelbaum. This task force that I sit on is a great resource for our local school board to learn more about the research behind the healthy school hours and best practices for implementation. Healthy school hours improve health and academics for middle and high school students. Thank you for your dedication to focusing on what's best for our students.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, Danny Lee, Scott Drive. Good evening. I'd like to comment on what we previously discussed with the National Honor Society, how it correlates to the bigger issue of teacher retention. As previously mentioned, when the topic of National Honor Society was brought up, the discussion quickly went towards the top issue of stipends. However, as Mrs. Stassic has previously brought up, the underlying cause has little to do with money. The manner in which the scenarios involving cheating with the National Honor Society was handled poorly. It was handled so poorly that as a result, teachers no longer wanted to be responsible for the National Honor Society. This is just one of the examples that allude to a culture where a teacher's word was either not taken seriously or simply disregarded. This is the National Honor Society that we're talking about. Last I checked, cheating and honor do not belong in the same sentence. The National Honor Society situation just highlights the ongoing overarching issue we have with the environment and culture of teaching. It is approaching toxic levels. There are hints of a culture based on fear rather than open communication. Why should a teacher continue to work in a district where there's a disconnect between the administration and the teachers? I work in the private sector. Typically, if you see a high turnover rate, this is typically symptomatic of either poor management or poor culture. People initially join because they love the job, but they stay on board because they love the culture or the management. high turnover rate is usually not a result of poor pay, but rather a statement on management or a toxic culture. It has been mentioned a few times already in various public comments at the board meetings that the teaching environment is approaching toxic levels and it is not conducive for teachers to stay. As a parent, I'm concerned about the repercussions of losing additional teachers and how that would affect my children. In short, take this job and shove it is not a viable solution moving forward. We need to address this sooner rather than later to avoid additional resignations that could be avoided. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Good evening, again, Stefania Lockwood, Millstone River Road. I have to say that I'm very, very pleasantly relieved that this was it. I went to a meeting in Hunterdon Central a few months ago, the first time I actually told the towel boob story in public, and there were 300 people. They had to go into the high school auditorium because they couldn't hold the meeting in its normal location. So I'm glad that we got ahead of it, and it's over, and it's done, and we can just now move on with doing our job and teaching our kids. And here's why. This is some of the stuff that's been said by community members to me in public. Maybe you should move. Are you paying my relocation costs? Didn't think so. I would if it meant getting you away from where I live. Sorry, some of them are just, I can't even read them because they contain profanity. Parents will be kept in the dark, unlike his perverted, disgusting, nasty attraction to kids. Hey, he just wants to show its penis to your kids through the windows, so-and-so. Are you some kind of pedophobe, forcing it to decide between lipstick or a beard? Stefania? Yes, I was there. So what did he do exactly, besides dress like a woman and forget to shave? I don't know what he did. He. Wow, calling you a guy is transphobic? Since I'm not one, yeah, I'm a woman, not a man. That's the problem with going what you read or hear. The screaming came from a guy screaming at a little girl. We know what that one's about. I wasn't screaming at a little girl. I was screaming at the person who made that comment while she was disrupting a meeting that Mr. Marini had already determined was out of order. And while we're talking about that, when someone runs for public office, their campaign for, their election to, their service on, and all actions related to that campaign, service, etc., is a matter of public record. And they are a public official, and they are subject to criticism during the time they're in that position and the time in perpetuity afterwards, as Mr. Gillette has mentioned in the past. So, yes, I will continue to criticize the former board member who I believe was not here for the right reasons when it's relevant, because that's public record. Just like every email that I sent to you is public record. So if people want to Oprah that, go for it. My name's easy to spell because it's in every single minute pretty much since January, except for that one meeting that I missed. Weird. That's the problem with going by what you hear. The screaming came from a guy screaming at a little girl. I think I've made the point here. These are people in our community. This is why this education that has been politicized. I understand that people have different individual views, but the use of teaching kids the reality of who they are has been politicized. And this is why it matters, because this is how I get treated. So imagine how 12-year-olds are treating each other in this town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll open it up to the board. Right?
So I have yet to familiarize myself with the proposed health curriculum, but I did want to offer some insight as a student. While I understand some of the topics like involving sex education can be extremely uncomfortable, I think from my own experience, all of my teachers have handled it very well, and have made sure to that the environment is inclusive and that all students are ultimately best prepared to protect themselves. And I think the way that's done is through transparency. So I know that it's sometimes hard to decipher what things mean or what the implications will be on the students, but just from my own perspective, I've only had very informational experiences in regards to these subjects, and they've only helped inform my opinion. So,
Thank you, Ms. Fafana. Any other board members with comment?
Not tonight, my friend.
All right. Seeing none, I will move to adjourn. Can I get a motion in a second?
So moved.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.